Welcome guys again on my channel. So we were doing the judiciary chapter 1 class 12 legal, and we have covered various topics regarding the judicial training, appointment of judges, various articles. Also I have told you to learn that had come in between the lines of the chapter. Now the next topic is removal of judges. Now we have seen that how they are appointed, at what age they get to retire, but now how they are removed in case, that we will see. Removal of judges. Judges of Supreme Court and High Courts can be removed through a process called impeachment. Process of removal of judges is exactly same for both Supreme Court and High Courts. This has been stated explicitly in Indian Constitution. As a part of process of impeachment, an inquiry is made into the grounds of removal of judges. Means why it is required that this particular judge should be removed, तो उसकी एक इंक्वायरी होती है. Grounds for removal include proven misbehavior or incapacity. Means if it is proved that a particular judge has misbehaved to any colleague, or in the court he has misbehaved, he has used something obscene language that he has used, which overall lowers the dignity of the court as a whole, then it will be a misbehavior or misbehaving conduct. Okay, and if he is not capable for the post, it is proven that it is incapacity of the judge to be on that post, then he can be removed. So these are the only two grounds for removal of a judge. Inquiry into these grounds is made under the Judges Inquiry Act 1986. This inquiry is done by a committee of 3 members, of which 2 judges are from Supreme Court and second is the Chief Justice of High Court. If the complaint is against High Court judge, then 2 judges from Supreme Court constitute this committee. So for the inquiry that what ground would be suitable for impeaching this particular judge, then a committee is formed which includes 3 members. Okay, out of those 2 judges, one is from Supreme Court and one is the Chief Justice of High Court. And if the complaint is against a particular High Court judge, then there will be 2 judges from Supreme Court. So 3 members की कमेटी होती है जिसमें से 2 लोग जज होते हैं. अगर वो सुप्रीम कोर्ट के किसी जज को इम्पीच करना है तो एक जज होगा सुप्रीम कोर्ट का और एक होगा चीफ जस्टिस ऑफ हाई कोर्ट. और अगर किसी हाई कोर्ट जज को रिमूव करना है तो 3 मेंबर की ही कमेटी होगी, लेकिन उसमें जो 2 जज अपॉइंट होने हैं वो दोनों जज सुप्रीम कोर्ट के होंगे. ठीक है, समझ में आ गया. Based on the findings, recommendation to impeach has to be made by Chief Justice of India to President. जैसे कि अपॉइंटमेंट के समय चीफ जस्टिस ऑफ इंडिया गिव्स द एडवाइस टू प्रेसिडेंट ऑफ इंडिया, सिमिलरली इन द केस ऑफ रिमूवल ऑल्सो to impeach the judge, whatever the recommendation or suggestion that committee has given, that recommendation is finally given by the CJI to President of India. If it is accepted, then proposal of impeachment must be introduced in Parliament for discussion by 100 MPs in Lok Sabha or 50 MPs in Rajya Sabha. And if the recommendations are accepted, recommendation or suggestion of the committee are accepted, then that goes into the Parliament for discussion. In Lok Sabha, at the time of discussion, there should be 100 members of Parliament, that is MPs, and in Rajya Sabha, there must be an attendance of 50 MPs for the discussion to take place. Copy of proposal is given to concerned judge before proceeding starts in Parliament of India. Means जिस जज के अगेंस्ट इम्पीचमेंट हो रहा है उसको उस रिकमेंडेशन की एक कॉपी दी जाती है पहले ही. पार्लियामेंट में डिस्कशन स्टार्ट होने के पहले ही उसको एक रिकमेंडेशन की कॉपी दे दी जाती है कि आपके खिलाफ इम्पीचमेंट हो रहा है, ये इस कमेटी ने रिकमेंड किया है, तो अब हम पार्लियामेंट में प्रोसीडिंग स्टार्ट कर रहे हैं. Impeachment process is governed under Article 124 subclause 4 of Indian Constitution. As I say always, remember the articles that are mentioned. So this is another one, Article 124 subclause 4, impeachment of the judge in the Parliament. Under this, motion of impeachment has to be passed by 2/3 majority members present and voting must be done separately in each house of Parliament. If motion is passed, then formal announcement is done by President of India. Therefore, overall process of impeachment is lengthy and complex. So what happens, as I told, that there should be 100 MPs in Lok Sabha or 50 MPs in Rajya Sabha for the approval of this impeachment proposal, and after that it should be passed by 2/3 of majority members present. Means whatever is the attendance, उनके 2/3 majority से वो approval pass होना चाहिए, and it has to be passed in both the houses separately. If the motion is passed, then formal announcement, means final announcement, is done by the President of India. Consequently, in history, the process has successful only once. Means in the history of Indian judiciary, the impeachment process has been successfully conducted against a judge only once. सिर्फ एक ही जज के अगेंस्ट impeachment process successful हो पाया. That means only one judge till now in the history of Indian judiciary has been removed by impeachment, and that is Justice Soumitra Sen, who was the Chief Justice of Calcutta High and was impeached in 2011 for misappropriation of funds. Previously, in 1991, impeachment process was started against Justice V. Ramaswamy, Chief Justice of Punjab and Haryana High Court, but did not succeed on falling short of 2/3 voting criteria. Means 2/3 voting criteria was not fulfilled, and so he could not be impeached. Okay, so remember who was the only judge, or who is the only judge who has been impeached till now in the history of judiciary. So that you have to remember, that is Chief Justice of Calcutta High Court, former Chief Justice of Calcutta High Court rather, that is Justice Soumitra Sen in 2011 for misappropriation of funds. As to removal of judges into a judiciary, district judge or additional district judge can be removed from his office by state government in consultation with High Court. So if you have to remove a district judge or an additional district judge, then that can be done by the state government in advice with the High Court of that state. Now the next topic is courts and judicial review. Judicial review general. Judicial review is a principle or a legal doctrine or a practice whereby a court can examine or review an executive or a legislative act such as law or some other governmental or administrative decision and determine if the act is incompatible with the constitution. So judicial means concerning judiciary. Review means review. That means viewing it again. Any word in which prefix re or re is put, that means to do it again. So review means to view it again. That means if there is a law which is framed or any other policy or any other government decision that is taken, and if the people or the judiciary itself has a doubt on it, then it can review it. It can take that decision and it can review that whether it is on the lines of the policies or on the lines of the laws that are mentioned in the Indian Constitution or not, that whether it is compatible as per the Constitution or not. Okay, so that can be seen, that can be viewed by the judiciary. In some countries like US, France, Canada, judicial review allows the court to invalidate or nullify the law or act of legislature or executive if they are found to be contrary to constitution. So in some countries like US, France, Canada, judicial review gives the judiciary the power to nullify a law or an order or a government decision if it feels that that particular act or that particular law that is framed by legislature or executive is not in par with the constitution. If it is violating some of the principles or some of the policies that are given in the constitution, if any such law is violating, infringing the constitution principles, then court has the power or judiciary has the power to nullify that, to declare that law null and void. It will be of no status after that. In UK, judicial review powers are restricted. Courts do not have authority to nullify legislation of parliament. Likewise, there may be some other countries where courts may have different kind of restrictions and may review only one branch. So US, Canada, France में क्या था? 2 branches, यानी कि legislature, executive दोनों को judiciary review कर सकती है, and if there is any act which is contrary to the constitution principles, then judiciary has the power to nullify it. But contrary to this, in UK, judicial review or judiciary does not have powers that it can nullify a particular act, or it can nullify a particular legislation that is framed by the parliament. It does not has that authority to nullify. So there are some restrictions which are put in some judiciaries of various other countries. They may have absolute powers to nullify, or they may not have the absolute powers to nullify. Separation of powers. Although doctrine of separation of powers have been dealt with in this unit as well as elsewhere in legal studies course, it will be helpful to have a brief recap of doctrine as it relates with the topic of judicial review. Most democratic countries have adopted in their constitutions partial or complete system of separation of powers horizontally among three branches of government or the state: legislative, executive and judiciary. That means in various constitutions of the countries there is partial or complete distribution or separation of power in हॉरिजॉन्टल और वर्टिकल, दो टाइप के सेपरेशन हो सकते हैं. इन वेरियस कॉन्स्टिट्यूशंस ऑफ द कंट्रीज देयर इज अ horizontal separation or distribution of power among the three organs of the government, that is all everybody knows: legislative, executive and judiciary. Doctrine of separation of powers ensures that each branch has distinct powers and responsibilities based on organizational scheme of constitution. This we have done. I think that if you are dividing a particular the government into three branches, that means each branch will have its specific and important function to render. So that particular function that organ will perform, right? Doctrine of separation of power ensures that each branch has its specific powers and responsibilities. Furthermore, Constitution provides checks and balances so that no one can breach those powers that it has having. No one can misuse the powers that it has been given as per the constitution. So there is a policy or a principle of keeping a check, of monitoring each and every organ as well, so that the supremacy of constitution is maintained over all these three organs, rather than there would be a supremacy of वन ऑर्गन ओवर दी अदर ऑर्गन. सो एक ऑर्गन की दूसरे ऑर्गन पर सुप्रीमेसी नहीं, बल्कि कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन के तीनों ऑर्गन्स पर सुप्रीमेसी होनी चाहिए. इट इज इंश्योर्ड बाय द checks or balances or the regulations or the principles of monitoring the organs of government, which are also given in the constitution. So we can say that if constitution is providing the organs of government some power or some functions that it has to render, then constitution also ensures that that particular organ of government do not misuses the power or authority that it has been given to perform. So check and balance so that no one branch exercises its supremacy over others or misuse the powers provided to them. In this way, each branch puts a check on other whenever there is an encroachment or conflict of powers among them, and thereby prevents any concentration of powers in one branch. So that means concentration of powers of all the three branches in one branch ऐसा ना हो, उसके लिए भी it is important that one branch puts a check on the other branch, right? कि वो हमारा काम तो नहीं कर रहा है, या वो किसी और branch का काम तो भी नहीं कर रहा. So it is ensured that that branch only functions what is under its control or what is under its premise. It is believed that system of separation of powers may have few advantages. It allows for liberty as it avoids concentration of powers in one branch. It promotes efficiency. It facilitates, enriches democratic discussion through powers of checks and balance of each branch. Powers of judicial review allow judiciary to safeguard checks and balances and ensure the separation of powers of other two branches of government. So what happens? There are few advantages that this horizontal separation of power is done. The advantages are that it ensures liberty, because there is no concentration of power with a particular branch only. Each branch has its own powers and functions that it has to perform, and it promotes efficiency. Efficient administration is carried out, and it facilitates, or it establishes a democratic discussions through the system of checks and balances, which are also given in the Constitution of India itself. And it also makes sure that judiciary safeguards those check and balance on the other organs of the government, so that the separation of power is conducted in an efficient manner and efficient administration is carried out. There is no problem or there is no infringement in the sort of administration that is being carried out, and there is no misuse of power. That is also checked by the judiciary. Now, another related concept is doctrine of division of powers between federal or center and states or provinces. Obviously, division of power has to be between the central government and between the states government. Federal government has lawmaking powers different than that of states or provinces. As you know, we have three lists: union, concurrent and state list. Union list matters. Union government has the authority to take the decisions in the matters which are mentioned in the union list. State government has the power to take decisions on the matter which are mentioned in the state list, and concurrent list matters decision can be taken by both central or the state government. More on this we will be taking in the next lecture. So this is all for this lecture. Thank you.